I'm Anastasia Chatzka. I'm a fashion designer, pattern maker, and sewing educator, and I'm so happy you're here sewing along with me today. Today, I am super excited to share with you a brand new sewing machine. I know if you love sewing as much as I do, new sewing machines geek you out. So today we are going to unbox and go over the features for the Amber Air 600. This serger has 26 stitches. It has a bright LED light on it so you can see everything beautifully. It has a touch screen in color, and it has air threading. So no more fighting with the upper and the lower loopers. All you need to do is hit a button and it threads itself. It is amazing. I love it, and I cannot wait to share this with you and show you all of the awesome features on it. So let's unbox it and go over all of those features. I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up this serger, and we're going to go over some of my favorite stitches on here and test them out. It is like Christmas in the studio right now. We are about to unbox this serger. So let's open it up and take a look at it. So when we open it up, we got all kinds of things on the top. We got all kinds of accessories. So we're gonna pull out the accessory kit here. You're gonna have your manual. We're gonna have a quick start guide because they know we wanna just start serging like instantly. We do not wanna read a manual. So here is the quick start guide for that. Your warranty. We have an extension table, woo. We also have our 5-spool thread holder. We have the top of the thread holder. This is really exciting. I am so excited to use the leg lift with the serger. Before, I hated having to put my hand behind the serger, lift up the foot. Now the lift is actually on the right-hand side, which is awesome, but I'm so used to reaching behind the serger for the left that it's taking me a while to get used to. But we have the leg lift just like the industrial machine, so I am super excited to try this out. Our foot pedal, power cord, and this little piece here is awesome because this is going to convert our machine over to a cover stitch, which I am so excited that this machine has. Since it has 5 threads, it's going to do that cover stitch, the flat lock, and the chain stitch. A lot of sergers can't do those stitches, and that makes this machine extra special. We also have our thread cutter tray, catching all those pesky little threads and everything from serging. And then we have some little spool holders. So that's gonna be in the top. Let's move these things out of the way and make room for our big pink, that's right, it's pink, serger. Okay, these machines are always so heavy, so I feel like I gotta really take a few deep breaths to get up for this. Okay, here we go. We did it. So heavy. Check it out. Can you believe it? They made a pink serger. I think they made this with me in mind. What do you guys think? So I plugged in the machine and I attached the thread stand, and now we are ready to start threading this machine. And the first thing we're gonna do is turn it on. And you can hear all the crazy noises it's gonna make, and all it's doing is calibrating. It's gonna tell you to raise the foot. Okay, now grab your thread and let's thread this baby. We are gonna do the 5-thread safety stitch because it takes all 5 threads, so I can go over exactly how to thread all 5 threads. Threading the serger is normally a really big hassle, and you almost never ever wanna do it because it takes forever, but this machine has air threading for the loopers, and it is gonna thread like that. It is gonna be so fast, and you are gonna be so amazed. First thing we're gonna do is select the stitch from the drop-down menu, and now it's gonna tell us how to set it up. So we have the 5-thread safety stitch wide. It's showing us what colors we're using for the thread here. And if we hit info 1, it's gonna tell us exactly what we need to do to set it up. So we need to make sure that we have the A plate on the front, which we already do. We need to make sure we have the knife up. We need to make sure that we have the little finger out of the upper looper. We need to make sure that right here on the plate, it's on N. And then we also need to make sure the foot pressure is on neutral. And then we also need to make sure that the lever on the bottom is flipped over to A. So let's do it. So let's get into it and set up our machine. So we're gonna pull the front to the right and down. First thing we need to do is make sure that we have the A plate on, which we do. We have the A right here. You'll notice this little diagram here for A and B, which is referring to this little lever here. You're gonna push it down and we're gonna move that over to A. So make sure it comes back up. There we go. So now that is at A and we got our A plate on. Now it also wants our knife in the A position, which means the knife is up, which we have right here. And now if we move our lever, we're gonna notice that our little finger isn't in the upper looper, which is how we want it, so we don't want it in there. And now we need to make sure that the N and the R is set to N. It's on R right now, so we're gonna push it over to N. Now we need to make sure the foot pressure is on neutral, which is gonna be over here on the left side of the machine. We got the neutral position set to there. And then we've already moved this over to the A, which was down here. So that is it, that's all you had to do. Switch the plate, move everything over to A basically, and make sure you have this in your normal position for the finger. So we are all set with that. So you can go ahead and just hit info again, and it's gonna take you back to your main screen. So now what we need to do is put in our 5 threads. This is the exciting stuff. First thread we're gonna put in is our purple thread. So this here is showing us all the colors of thread we need, and for the stitch, we need all of them. So if you need the purple, we are going to find the purple dots on the machine, and that is the path that we need to thread. Now to make this easy for you today, I am using matching thread for the matching path. So the first thing we're gonna do is put it up here, put it under our tension disc, and then we're gonna come down. We got a little guide there. Okay, so we're gonna take the purple thread, we're gonna put about 1 inch of it in the hole, and then we can go ahead and press the button, make sure your finger's not in the way of the thread, and then voila, it just pops out over here on the other side. The air threading is so easy to do, but what I really wonder is, can we do all 3 of them at one time? So I set them all up in the holes, and we're gonna press the button and see what happens, because this would be so cool. Turns out you can thread all 3 of these threads at one time, making this machine so easy to thread. Next, we need to change our needle position. So we have 5 possible spots to put the needles, and we need to move it to the A and the D position right now. So right now we have 1 in E, so we're gonna pull that out. Make sure you tighten your screw all the way. We're gonna go ahead and open up A, and we are going to get that one back here into A. Make sure you're pushing it all the way up and then tighten it. Now we're gonna remove it from C. Tighten it back up. We're gonna loosen D. Push it all the way up and tighten. So now we've moved our 2 needle positions. So now we have A and now we have D. So now we can go ahead and thread those. So now we're gonna take the blue thread and we're gonna follow the guide, just over to the left, up, down, around the guide, and then we are gonna stick it through the needle. Always make sure you trim the end of your thread and then just stick it through the needle front to back. And then pull it to the back. And that was that easy for the blue one. Now we're gonna do the yellow one, which is also that easy. So we're just gonna click it in the guide. We want to follow the nice little path here for the thread. Make sure they're going in separate little guides, so that way they don't get tangled when you're sewing. You can always use your tweezers to get it in there. And now we're gonna stick it in D. Trim the end, make it nice and smooth, and through D we go. Okay, now we are ready to sew and test it out. Air threading the serger was so easy. Why haven't I had an air threading serger my entire life? I don't even know, because it is awesome. So now that we know how easy it is to air thread this serger, let's go ahead and test out some of the awesome features and stitches that this machine has. So we're all set up for the 5-thread safety stitch. So all I need to do is select that stitch on the menu and we can test it out. So let's put our fabric in and test it out. It is looking beautiful. Look at how beautiful this 5-thread safety stitch is. This is so good for sewing pieces of fabric together. We essentially have our straight stitch, which is the chain stitch on the serger, and then we have our serge over on the other side. So on the inside, it looks like this. On the outside, we just have a beautiful seam. Now we're gonna test out the 4-thread overlock stitch, which is great for sewing knitwear. To do this, it is super easy. All we need to do is get rid of that purple thread and move our needle positions over to A and B. Let's test out the 4-thread overlock. So we're gonna get it under that foot. And we're gonna sew 2 pieces of fabric together with this. Our 4-thread overlock is looking awesome. Check it out. Great thing about this stitch is that you can use it to sew your knitwear together and it still stretches beautifully. Next, we're gonna switch over to the 3-thread cover stitch wide, and I just love this stitch. To set up this one, we need the C and the E needle position, and we're gonna be using thread colors yellow, red, and purple. Okay, let's test out our cover stitch. Remember, you're always folding your fabric to the wrong side and stitching on the right side of your fabric. When you get to the end of your cover stitch, I always like to make sure my needles are up, lift off my foot, I take my tweezers, I pull the 2 threads towards me, I cut them, and then I pull my project to the back, and it pulls those top threads to the back, which is awesome, and then you just have that purple thread to cut. Our 3-thread cover stitch is looking great. We've got those 2 straight stitches on the outside, and then we've got our serge looking stitch on the back, and this stitch is just so great for hemming all of your knitwear. The last stitch is a 2-thread rolled hem. We're gonna have the needle in the B position, and we're going to be using the blue and the teal thread. That's right, only 2 threads for the stitch, and it's beautiful. Okay, now we're gonna test out the rolled hem. Our 2-thread rolled hem looks so beautiful, and this stitch is great for finishing the edges of all of your thin fabrics. One of the amazing things about this machine is that you don't need to fumble through a manual to be like, how do I switch that thread over? What do I do? What do I need to move? It shows everything to you right here on the touch screen. So you just select your stitch and then it tells you exactly what you need to do, just like that. Those are just a few of my favorite stitches on this machine. There are 26 stitches on this machine, can you believe it? And it is so easy to get through all of them and switch over because this machine guides you through everything. So you don't have to know a lot about serging, you just have to dive on in and get serging. This is a high-end machine, but it is great for beginners because it is so user-friendly. Now I'm gonna go over a few features about this machine that I really like. And one of them is that you can actually adjust the loops on the side of the serge. So if you've been serging and you notice your loops are hanging off the fabric, you can adjust this on this machine to bring them in closer. Or maybe your loops are too tight on your fabric, you can adjust it to make them out further. So that way they're always perfectly along the edge of your fabric. Because you'll notice how perfectly balanced this serge stitch is on this fabric. And that's because you can adjust the loops on this machine. And you cannot do this on every serger. I've actually never had a serger that you could adjust this on before. So I'm super excited about this feature. To do this, it's so easy. We just take this little lever here and we move it either to the plus or the minus. So the plus is gonna make your stitch so that way it is further away from the edge of the fabric, and the minus is gonna bring those loops closer to the edge of the fabric, which is probably what you're gonna need most of the time if you need to adjust them. But it is that easy. It just adjusts the little finger in there so that way the loops adjust. Another thing I'm really excited about is this contraption here. This is going to raise the pressure foot on your machine. You click it in and you use your leg to move this pressure foot. So what it's gonna do when you hit this, it's gonna lift up the foot of your machine so that way you can have both of your hands to hold your project and you use your leg with this contraption here to lift up your pressure foot. So let's click it in and try it out. So we're gonna take it and we're gonna put it in this little hole on the bottom of the machine and it's just gonna slide in. That's all that you need to do. And then you use your leg to move this over to the right and it lifts up the foot on the machine. Isn't that leg lift cool? Can you imagine having both of your hands to hold your fabric and position it and not having to use one to lift up the pressure foot? I just love it. This machine has so many amazing features, but another one of my favorite features is how bright it is. There's at least 5 LED lights under it, so your project is always gonna be nice and lit up. Sometimes when I'm sewing on an older machine, it seems so dark on the bed of it. You kind of really can't see your stitches really great, which isn't the best. So this machine is so well lit up that you are not gonna have a problem seeing all your stitches in your project as it goes through the machine, which is awesome. So let's take a look at all those bright lights. We've got a light here, 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 and here. So much light, so amazing. I love it so much. Thanks so much for watching my unboxing today and following along as I went over some of my favorite features of this new Serger. I've been waiting for this Serger to come out for years and it was so exciting to unbox it and go over the features with you. So I hope you enjoyed it, and if you're considering buying a new Serger, definitely consider this Serger because it's got some great new features on it. And this Serger is great if you're a beginner because it's really gonna help you navigate all those different stitches with just a touch of the button and moving a few levers. It is so easy to set up and switch between all the different stitches. And if you've been serging for a while and you've been adjusting those upper loopers and those lower loopers and that 5th thread, you know how hard it is to sometimes switch out the threads. You don't want to switch it over to a different stitch because it's really hard. Well, in this Serger, it's easy breezy and it takes like 2 seconds. So it is going to open up your serging world. If you're not already a subscriber to Sewing Anastasia, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when all the new videos come out. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for following along. And if you're not following me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and TikTok, and all those social media websites, make sure you check them out and follow along so we can stay creative together. And don't forget to tag me in your projects because I would love to share your creativity with everyone else. And if you're in Chicago, pop into the studio for a sewing class. You can check all those out at sewinganastasia.com. And don't forget to check out the Sewing Anastasia merch right down below this video. There's going to be a bunch of little icons of really cute sewing shirts. If you enjoyed this video today, don't forget to share it with all of your sewing friends so that way we can all stay connected and sewing together. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.